Boom. There we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Vagabond Dog Industry Chats. This week's guest is an old friend of ours, Marissa Roberto, Toronto legend, esports reporter, expert, beat reporter. I don't know what you call the terms.
I needed
Um,
all of that.
yeah. But you know the things about esports, and
Sometimes.
sometimes, and you report on them for TSN, which is like pretty big sports news outlet.
Oh
You can
my god, I
tell.
miss you so much. Yeah, so yeah, it's the sports network. So it's Canada Sports Network. It is the sister station to ESPN. If you have any people watching from America,
Yep.
it is ESPN's sister station here in Canada. So I do a daily sports show for them on digital on all their social platforms, and then on the side I also do gaming stuff with them as well. We've developed their Twitch channel. We're doing more partnered stuff that has to do with video games. All the guys who work there also love video games, so just kind of doing more of that stuff, playing party games. And then my producer Matt and I, who came from the same esports show that we produced in Canada, um, also produce a gaming show that we put on TSN's YouTube. So just trying to integrate the sports world with esports a little bit more. Just you got to do it little by little, like dipping your toe in the hot tub. You can't jump in. I'm sure you would jump in the hot tub. You
Mm,
seem like that kind of guy.
mm,
But I'm not. I gotta dip the toe in. I gotta get used to it.
right on.
So same same with the sports audience.
What? Maybe like, but. I mean, so I've been under the impression that esports is a huge thing. It's big, 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 right?
It's
So
huge.
so
It's so
why
huge.
why are we not like why are the is you're very mainstream media? Why is mainstream
Mhm.
media dipping its toe in rather than a leg or all the way up?
Um, I think it's I think it's a pretty daunting area to explore because there is there are a lot of sharks in the water. Number one, there are a lot of people out there that just get excited, or investors that get excited because they hear the word esports and they think it's going to be this big thing because they see these big prize pools and all these different organizations getting involved. But there's also, when you work in media, you also have to be very wary of funds and dollars and where those things are coming from. And when you're going to invest in something like esports, you don't really know where your return on investment is going to come from. You don't know when that's going to come. You don't know how it's going to come unless it's coming from sponsors out the gate. So if you don't have those out the gate, it's very difficult to invest in something like esports and go all in on something like that when you don't know where your money's going to come from. How are you going to pay your employees? Like, you need to employ
Mm-hmm.
people to make sure that you're getting all the news there is to get out there. I've just seen so many different tournament organizers kind of fall by the wayside, or you saw Yahoo Esports pop up a few years ago now. It was huge, huge company. So much money that was thrown into this. Done, dead in the water in, I think it was a year, nine or 12 months. So it's very scary to invest in something like this when you're not really sure if there's going to be an audience for it and if you're going to attract the kind of dollars that you need from investors and sponsors. So it's just waiting and seeing right now. It's best to, in my opinion, especially here in Canada, it's best to take your time, kind of set the scene,
Mm-hmm.
because everything changes. There's an ebb and flow to everything, even with all the different games that are out there. So a game, an esport might pop at a clear blue sky, like Apex Legends did, literally out of the clear blue sky. Nobody saw it coming. Then all of a sudden, there was a scene that bubbled up for that, right? So you need to have the resources to invest in covering these scenes. And it's a little too soon to be going all in on esports when it comes to big media just yet. But slowly, like you still have the Score Esports. They kind of go all in on that. There are different pop-up indie esports people that cover things here. There are different outlets out of the US, lots out of Europe, lots out of Asia. So there are different places where you can find esports news. It's not like it's not there, but you also need to you need to watch what the media side is doing. You see a big company like Venn launch, and they have their show on Twitch, and you're just seeing that, okay, there's not a lot of viewership here. So what does
Mm-hmm.
that mean? Do people want this? Do gamers want this? Because we used to love G4. Like, I know you and I
Yeah.
used to host a show on G4 Canada, and we loved G4, and it was a big deal. But then Twitch came along, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
YouTube came along. All these different outlets for people to find the news that they want for the niche that they want. Why why do we think that gamers want to watch a show like SportsCenter but just for video games? Like, we think in practice it's a good idea because it works for sports fans, but is it going to work for gamers? There are different kinds of gamers out there. Like, you can't show somebody who loves Rocket League Dota and expect them to understand what's going on and want them to watch those highlights, right?
Right.
Versus someone who loves hockey. Well, I can get into soccer. I can
Right.
get
Right.
into
Right.
baseball. I can watch these highlights too. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of learning that needs to happen here, and I think there's just too many niches within gaming to kind of pigeonhole everything into like a sports center vibe. So that's my long-winded answer into
Right.
why we can't go all into the hot tub right now.
So I mean, there's when it comes to traditional sports, I mean, you're looking at like five, six sports if you include golf, right? Like in terms
Yeah,
of
the
like, it's basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer.
there you go.
That's it, right? Like there's golf maybe,
Did you say football? Did you say
football. No, I didn't say
Okay,
football.
okay.
So
Yeah,
six,
football.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Versus
Those are your big boys. Those are your big boys.
And I mean, for being a traditional sports reporter, I mean, can you tell us anything like, is there a lot of cross pollination in terms of like people who religiously watch football? Are they likely to religiously watch any baseball or, at all, or is it has it always been,
Yeah.
as I see the esports categories are, you watch Dota, you watch League,
Hmm.
you don't
Yeah,
tend to
there are
cross
some
pollinate.
similarities. There are some similarities. Like if you like a MOBA, you're probably gonna get this other MOBA and get into it. If you like
Hmm.
first person shooters, like if you watch Call of Duty, you're probably gonna watch CS:GO. CS:GO is one of the best shooters out there. So there are similarities between some sports. Like it just depends. I usually find that people are 2 to 3 sport people because there's just not enough time in your day. How do you
Right.
you can't watch all these games. We are heavy into hockey in this house, heavy into hockey and baseball. So hockey and baseball is just on constantly. Basketball is not on as much because we're heavy with those other sports. Boxing too.
Hmm.
Boxing's huge here. So you really only, as a sports fan, you really only have, in my experience, you only have room for 2 or 3 to really get into, and then you watch the highlights. I'm as a sports fan, I'm down to watch the highlights. I like to get to know the storylines, and that is what I think esports is missing. I think we're missing more storytelling. We're missing more of a way for us to connect with these competitive gamers. We need to know their stories. We need to find a reason to follow these guys and want to learn the game that they're playing.
Hmm.
There's just not enough of that. Like I see that in the NBA 2K League. Love it. These guys are attached to big sports franchises. This is a big deal. This is going to be huge. This is the biggest basketball game ever. Like all of these boxes that are being checked, prize pools that are there, organization, we have franchising, all that stuff that is there. It's very exciting. But I don't know these guys.
Right.
Let's learn more about them. There's no personality that's really out there in your face making me want to sit there and watch NBA 2K League and get to know all these guys all the time. It's just not top of mind for me. I would love to. I want to support Toronto's team for sure, but again, you have to give me a reason to want to jump in and go in all the way and invest my time with these guys. They have to give me, and I think they're trying to. I think these organizations are really trying to. It's just going to take some time. That's really all. It takes time and money.
Right.
Always money.
So I had a question here, but you might have just answered it. Is like, how much of the draw in esports is to the personalities versus the games itself?
Um, it for me, just for me as someone who, um, I mean, I'm supposed to remain objective. It's tough because you kind of fall in love with these guys a little bit, right? And you want to cover certain scenes over others because of how some of them behave online.
Mm-hmm.
Like Call of Duty is so much fun to follow because all of these guys are so active building their own personal brands online. Twitter is
Mm-hmm.
always popping with COD Bros. Like they're just popping off at each other. They're chirping constantly. It's one of those scenes that just has so much drama, and they stir the pot themselves. They're constantly giving us a reason to want to pay attention, to want to follow different storylines because of all the drama that they create. So it really, I feel like that scene is very much personality driven. It's the same with the FGC, with the fighting game community. They, especially because they have to maintain their own brands. That's a very individual esport. You're not
Mm-hmm.
running with a team, you're running with yourself, and you've got to make sure that you've got a personality and a brand that people want to hold on to, because at the end of all of this, people are going to follow you, brands are going to reach out to you and make sure that your stream is popping, make sure that you're sponsored. And you've got, like, they've got to find their own way to make money. So I find that when these guys know that, they invest in themselves, they make sure to put their personality out there, and that's when their sport or their esport thrives. So very, very much, in my opinion, personality driven.
Right. It's actually interesting that you bring up the fighting game community because I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's my own personal tendencies, but I can definitely name more pro fighting game players
Sure.
than any other genre. But
Yeah, because their personalities are out there.
but it is weird because like I looked at a tier list you sent me of like where
Oh.
the money in esports goes, and you've got
Hmm.
like League of Legends, CS:GO, and Fortnite at the top, and then you've got your second tier, which is like Overwatch, Dota, Apex, Rocket League, and then the very sparse one is like FIFA, Smite, and
Hmm.
Hearthstone, and
Yeah.
nowhere on this list is any fighting game. Why?
I know.
Why?
I
Because
know.
I mean the esports competitive game scene has always seemed like it was just the fighting game community. So why is
Yeah.
this not, is this the big money is not going to fighting games, or what does this mean?
Yeah. So, with all of these esports, all of these genres, the number one thing obviously is money, and the the entity that retains all this money and controls all this money is of course the publisher.
Mm.
So when you have a company like Nintendo that the Smash scene, I don't know if you
Mm-hmm.
follow Smash scene at all, but they speak out against Nintendo often because Melee isn't a game that Nintendo
Right.
feels they need to support. Obviously, they have they have new consoles, they have new properties that they need to invest time and money in. Melee has always supported themselves, so it's just if there's no money coming from the publisher, how can these guys truly thrive?
Right.
How can they really make big waves, big splashes? Sure, we have things like Evo, which like, is such an incredible event to tune into, so much fun to watch. But unfortunately, they don't pull in enough sponsorship dollars and they don't pull in enough money from the publisher. The publisher needs to start ponying up and put up more cash, put up more of a reason for people to watch and more of a reason for different sponsors to tune in and give these guys money and give these guys time and attention. They still make money just by comparison to the other esports out there. They're very grassroots.
Right. So, I mean, do you think this has anything to do with like? I mean, all the fighting games are Japanese based. Like, I'm surprised Capcom doesn't throw a ton of money at Street Fighter. I'm surprised Namco isn't throwing a ton
Yeah,
of money at Tekken. I mean, are there
they
any
do.
Japanese top
They
tier
do. Okay,
esports?
okay, also, there's also another side to this where if you're a tournament organizer and you want to have fighting games at your event, sometimes the publisher wants you to pay them a sum that maybe
Mm.
you don't have money for. And so you just have to get rid of the fighting game component because you can't afford to pay Capcom the money that they're charging. There's that part of it too, because and I want to be annoyed with them because capitalism, I
Mm-hmm.
hate it. But that's the society that we live in, and this is a business, and they're trying to make money. So, um, I can't like they're gonna think about their bottom line at the end of the day, not the player. Unfortunately, I don't know. I wish I could give you a reason,
Right. Right. Right.
outside of money, but I think that's the reason.
Right.
Money.
Right. Right. Right.
I'm pretty sure it's because of money.
I mean, it's always money, but I was
It's always
curious if
money.
there was any like legal reasons or whatever. Japan doesn't allow for publishers funding competitive cash
No,
tournaments or whatever.
they they do have tournaments there. They're just not they're not big money ones. And I don't know why if they need to have like if they need to be the title sponsor of it or something. I'm not sure, but they do have tournaments out there, and there are Street Fighter tournaments. There are
Hmm.
Tekken. There
Hmm.
are like yeah, it's not as big as I would like it to be for them because they really do put their heart and souls into this. The fighting game community is, in my opinion, one of the best esports communities out there.
Right. Um,
No doubt.
rewinding a pinch to the idea of personality versus the game. I mean, like, there's
Yeah.
no denying that it's a lot of the draw. I'd say more than traditional sports on esports is I like this game. I like playing this game. I want to see how it's played well. Right?
Mm,
There's a larger percentage of people who watch esports and play that game than watch
yeah.
football and play that game.
Yes. Yeah,
Mm.
that's true. I always make that comparison actually because people wonder why esports because you mentioned
Mm.
FIFA, why esports aren't more popular. They are, and FIFA is number one, no doubt.
Hmm.
But when you watch these guys play, when you watch these professionals play, they're although they are that much better at the sport, at that much better at playing the game, there's not a huge jump in skill gap when you're watching. Say if I watch my husband play Chalo, I'm like, well, I feel like he's good enough to compete. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch him play and I'm like, wow, he's really good. I feel like he can compete in these tournaments versus when you watch a game like Rocket League and you play a game like Rocket League, you can clearly see the skill gap that is there with the professionals who play and when you're trying to play or you think you're good enough to play at home. There's
Right.
just a very, very obvious skill gap versus when you're watching 2K, Chell, Madden, it's not as obvious.
Is that skill gap the thing that differentiates these tier? Because I'm seeing, like, I would say CS:GO is a significantly more complex
Oh
game than
man.
Overwatch,
I don't know if I want to say complex, more complex than Overwatch.
or
It's
harder to play.
more, yeah, harder to play in your opinion. I know you and Jane rocked. Oh, you guys were so addicted to
Oh,
Overwatch
we
for
still play.
like, I want to say it. Oh, you still play?
We picked it back up.
I
It's a good
remember
game.
like, what are you guys doing tonight? Overwatch.
Yeah, she's playing right
Overwatch.
now.
I love that so much. Um, that's so funny to me. Yeah, no, you're right. There is a when you watch and versus when you play CS:GO, it's very
Mhm.
clear what is happening. It's very clear these guys are pros for a reason. Overwatch, you're right. Overwatch kind of has the same vibe. I feel like when you must think that when you're watching Overwatch, when you watch these guys play, like I could do this, I could do that. But they are better than you. Okay.
Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll see. Get me on the
They are
Defiant
better
and
than
we'll
you.
find
It's
out.
fair.
Um, the
That's,
that's speaking of Defiant.
yeah.
We had the opportunity of having I mean, to dive straight into Overwatch for a little bit. We have
Okay.
a Overwatch team in our city. Um,
Yeah.
what can you tell me about this? The what is that? Has that done to Toronto in terms of, like, does it matter? Does anybody care after the
Well,
release?
no, well, the thing is, I think it would have done something if we weren't living in a pandemic currently, because there
Okay.
were huge plans last year to have our first home game. It was gonna be huge.
Ah.
They're gonna have it right downtown. It was gonna be sick. I was so excited about it. But of course the pandemic hit. Like we did a whole tour of where it was gonna be. So much fun. But then yeah, the pandemic hit, so it didn't happen, and everything went online. But whenever the Toronto Defiant got together for like fan meet and greets, there
Hmm.
was always a lineup around the block. There are
Interesting.
legitimate, there are legitimate esports fans here, legitimate like fans who want to get behind this team. And I found that more so for Overwatch than Call of Duty, but
Hmm.
it's hard to gauge because we did the Call of Duty event at this place downtown where there was also going to be a Toronto-based rapper at the event as well. So when I was interviewing fans on the street, I'm like, "You guys excited to meet the Toronto Ultra? You guys excited to meet this team?" They're like, "Oh no, we're here to see Nav." Like I'm like,
Right.
"Oh, okay." Like it was just there was a divide there, and I wasn't sure who was there for Call of Duty and who was there for the rapper. So it's just hard to tell what our scene really is like or what the fans are really like in Toronto. But again, we'll see that when, things start opening up again and we will have
Hmm.
home games here and we'll get to introduce Toronto to this whole competitive esports scene. And it is significant. It is something. There are fans that live and die for this stuff. Just going to an esports event is so much freaking fun because you really get the atmosphere of it. Rocket
Hmm.
League, I think, in my opinion, is one of the best because it's G-rated, just so easy to get into, so easy to understand. You can bring sports fans in and they can watch. I feel like the only deterrent for people who aren't used to watching esports or would want to watch esports is I had a producer come from TSN when I went to go cover the very last Call of Duty event before they franchised in California. And I'm like, "Are you enjoying it? Do you love it? Isn't it so much fun?" He's just like, "Well, everyone's just staring at a screen." Like, yeah. He's like, "So they're all looking at their screens down there, and then we're just all looking at this screen up here." Like, yeah. He's like, "But I could just do this at home." I'm like, "But the atmosphere, man, the atmosphere." So it's there's this I feel like there's
Hmm.
this hurdle that needs to be kind of jumped over if you want to get into the scene and you can get over the hump of, yeah, well, we're just all in a room together watching a screen, but the guys are right there playing. But they're right there playing. It's very exciting. Like you can't convince everyone to come on board, but slowly but surely, I think it's just going to be a Gen Z thing. It's going to be
Right.
kids kind of introducing their parents, um, and that's just kind of it's where it will go. But I am excited to see the amount of women that are getting involved in the space and that are competing now.
Hmm.
Certain scenes obviously need more women than others, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where it goes. I do think Toronto will have its own little bubble of people who love going out to events. We're going to see the same faces all the time, just like you and I would see the same faces when we
Hmm.
went to gaming events. it'll be the same vibe with esports.
Right. Going back a little bit to the Overwatch turnout versus the Call of Duty turnout, how much do you credit that to, like you said, the publisher backing? Like Blizzard went hard with Overwatch League. Like there's stuff incorporated in game. There's,
Yeah.
is there a better example of? I mean, I think Valve brings out a bigger prize pool for Dota, but
Yeah, but
in
like
terms
that
of
is also
outright effort,
that's also fan driven too. With Dota, it's very much fan driven. They're buying in game, and that in game those in game purchases go towards the prize pool
mm-hmm.
that happens every year. Like they're very much community based, and that's what I find that the esports that do the best have the most fan or community engagement. So because that's your bread and butter. Like, why would you not constantly want to give back to your fans?
Right.
The thing is, it's the same company doing everything for.
Oh shit, you're
doing
right.
everything, doing
Actually,
everything.
yeah, I didn't even realize.
Yeah, yeah, it's the same company. So I mean, maybe they put more eggs in the Overwatch basket because um, that was their first go at
Right.
franchising for esports. So maybe they put more into that versus a Call of Duty scene that was already there that they molded into becoming a franchised esport. So and there was a lot of hesitation as well because different organizations had to buy in for their spot in the Call of Duty League. So the first year, this is only now the third year of Call of Duty League, and so it's still, to me, in its infancy. We're still going to see some growth here, some more expansion teams, more investors coming in. Toronto, the organization who owns Toronto, just did another round of investor buy-ins. They raised 4 million. They're doing well. Like there's going to be more of these teams pop up because of how much money they're seeing these other organizations pull in. And then from there, they'll just have to do more fan engagement. They just opened up a team facility here in Toronto. As long as they continue to pull in sponsors, to pull in investors, there's going to be
Right.
more of these popping up, and they're going to put more effort into doing fan outreach. I mean, we'll get it. We'll get a scene here. It's just going to take a second. What's that?
The question keeps circling back around to money and sponsorship.
Money.
Why is this space ideal for sponsors? Are gamers just like hyper susceptible to brand messaging more than
Yeah.
football watchers, or what's the deal? Like, why is there so much money flowing in from advertising to the esports scene?
Um, I feel like that's it. You see these influencers and the kind of influence. I hate using influence and influencer. The kind of influence they have over their audience and the people that follow them. They want to be just like them, so they're going to do and buy the things that they buy. FaZe Clan is a very popular organization because they have so many fans. They're mostly bros who just want to be like the other bros they see on YouTube, streaming and playing games and getting paid to play games professionally. You see the YouTube bros, the Nelk boys. They are a perfect example of the same kind of demographic that these sponsors want to go after when it comes to gamers. They sell merch like crazy. All of their fans want to look just like them, act just like them, wear what they wear, buy what they buy, drink what they drink. So when you see big sponsors come in like Red Bull partnering with Ninja, because Ninja is obviously the biggest streamer in the world, he's just Red Bull everything decked out. Adidas jumping on board, Ninja gets his own shoe. All these things, all these brands jumping in and wanting to be part of the scene because this is the cool scene now. We were never the cool guys when we were, back in our day. We were
Hmm.
never the cool. We were never the cool ones playing games, but now we are because we retain these eyeballs. We have these people watching us, thinking that we're good at what we do, and they want to be just like us. So they're gonna buy and say and do the same things that we do. So if I start drinking Red Bull on stream, or if I'm just bumping whatever, just booster juice today, like putting it out there constantly, it's very exciting for sponsors because we're constantly on stream, we're constantly on camera, we're constantly on our socials, always engaging, and because of that engagement, they're giving a reason for sponsors to jump on board, and giving numbers back, like all the analytics and the numbers that are being fed back
Hmm.
to these sponsors. Now you're not waiting for like linear television numbers. You can see it in real time. You see the engagement happening in real time on their socials. It's proof, and I feel like the return on investment is huge, and that's why they keep doubling down on
Right.
gaming. they're clearly making money.
Do you think the return on investment for an esports sponsorship is higher than a NASCAR sponsorship or a PGA sponsorship?
That's hard to say. That's
Right.
really hard to say because they still make money. Like when you think of the PGA sponsorships, well, that's a certain demographic, and
Mm-hmm.
all of those, usually older men are going out and they're buying the same club that their favorite golfer is using, right? And they're
Mm-hmm.
they're making like TaylorMade is going to make huge money off of whatever sponsorship that they pour in because well, they're constantly seeing their name across the screen because that's the audience they're watching they're watching something in the PGA Tour. I feel like it's probably comparable. It's probably on par with that, maybe more so. It's hard to say. You'll see it more when you see the same brands re-up, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
there might just be one-offs and they just kind of like toss their hat in the ring and see what
Right.
happens. But you'll see it now more with, like, I mean, obviously Red Bull makes a lot of money, but Red Bull they're doing their own esports thing now. Like they clearly know that this is working, so they're going to keep doubling down on that. Or you have non-endemic sponsors like State Farm, State Farm Insurance,
Right.
sponsoring Rocket League. These kids don't need insurance, but they know that in the future, when these kids do need insurance, they're going to think of State Farm because they were all over their Rocket League streams and they were watching when they were 14, 15, 16. They're just trying to get in early on these kids when they get older. So they think of that brand and that brand alone.
Right. 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 Um, so given the scale of esports as it stands now, and the amount of influx from sponsorships and the growth from the publishers, do you think that your field, the mainstream media coverage of it, has grown in step with it? Are you guys ahead? Or are you lagging behind? What's in terms of um,
No,
no,
I wouldn't say I
just
would.
no.
I didn't yes and you there. I'm like, no, we we cover, we cover, uh, I can only cover what I feel my audience would care to know about,
Mm,
if that makes sense. So I can only really, like, for example, the gaming show that we do, Bar Downloadable, we have to start every single episode with something that's happening in the NHL video game community because the people who watch us predominantly love hockey and they love playing the NHL video game. So I always have to say the NHL video game, it's NHL and NHL. Like, I don't
I get it.
it's NHL. So we have to start with that. Like we have to cater very much to that audience. Then I get into the gaming news, but it also has to be with games that you'll probably want to hear about, like Pokemon and
Mm,
Mass Effect. Like, do you want to hear about Resident Evil? Like one of those where it's just like,
right.
is the audience just testing the waters of, do you think this is cool? Would you play this? Because mostly the guys that I'm talking to and the girls that I'm talking to just play Chell, Call of Duty, Fortnite sometimes. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
very specific audience. And that is the sports audience. When you look at different athletes who play and athletes that have been investing in esports and starting their own esports org, like Zach Hyman, who's about to drop the puck in a minute here, the Leafs are playing tonight. He invested in his own esports org because he saw that this Fortnite was making money. He wants to start an esports org. He's going to bring in kids that play Fortnite. So it is very much within his wheelhouse because he too plays Fortnite. All these other guys, like football players that are jumping in as well, they are investing in different orgs that also sponsor Madden players, or you know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
they tend to gravitate toward games that they can also enjoy themselves because they can jump on stream and play as well. So I cover whatever an athlete might be doing, and if
Mm-hmm.
that athlete is doing games, then that's even better for me. Less so in the other markets. Like it's very difficult for me to cover League of Legends, Dota, um, Overwatch a little bit because Overwatch still has the same vibe, right? Where it's like this audience doesn't really tap into that as much. But so I can't say that I'm on par. I'm not ahead of the game at all. I wouldn't say that, but I'm always acutely aware of what's happening in the
Mm-hmm.
esports space. And when sponsors jump on board, or if there was just talks of there's a couple of different companies now coming out with their own social networking for gamers. Like there's just different companies jumping on board that want to somehow get involved in gaming and they don't know how, but they're going to try to find a way. So I try to facilitate those conversations when I can, when I am consulting. But I wouldn't say for the mainstream media that we are ahead of it. We're just taking a back seat. We're watching and we're covering and we're letting our audiences know what they should or we feel like they would want to know. If that
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah.
I'm curious then, where's the thin line, that threshold when the mainstream starts to pay attention to something? Like, when did you guys notice Among Us? Did you ever?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Among Us was well, we started playing Among Us when everyone else was playing Among Us. I think like that was one of the first games that we played together as a group on stream on
Mm-hmm.
TSN's Twitch channel because that was something that I could. It was such a perfect game to involve everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
can play on your phone. You can download it for free. There's no barriers of entry here.
Mm-hmm.
Here's your code. Jump in. We only need one person to understand how to work a stream, and then all of us can just jump in. We go into Zoom, our windows are captured by someone else. Don't worry about it. Just jump in and play. So loved Among Us for that reason. It was really an excellent entry point for so many people that I work with that would never have played games otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
So no, Among Us, we were pretty. When everyone else was playing, we were playing. We
Right.
just played again last weekend.
But was
We're
it
still we're still on Among Us.
was it but I mean, like, what's that inflection point where the mainstream starts to notice the game? Right? Like, I mean, because that game existed for 2 years before anybody noticed. Then it starts to
Were
get
you playing?
me. Yeah, we played
Yeah.
it. We played on our stream, not on our stream, our Discord, but
No,
like,
I mean before people
no, no, no,
noticed.
no, 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 no,
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm like,
no, no, no,
well, don't act like you're better than me, Keaton.
no, no. Not this isn't a shot fired. This is. I'm curious at what point the mainstream media starts to notice a game, and what that threshold of popularity is to
Mm-hmm.
get that level of coverage. Not the level of coverage Among Us got, because that was like ubiquitous and universal. But like,
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
is that one step you
Fall
got to
Guys.
cross?
I feel like Fall Guys is another example of that because
Mm-hmm.
they also became very popular, and it was a game. It has to be number one, a game that people will understand immediately.
Mm-hmm.
One that I can still sell to a sports audience that kind of only really wants to watch people play NHL. So I have to give them another reason to want to watch us play. I feel like there also has to be some kind of it's an easier sell for me with the higher ups if there's some kind of a sponsorship play
Mm-hmm.
as well. If a publisher wants us to promote a game in some way, that would be also very helpful, just to get the game out there even more. But it would have to have people would have to be talking about it on Twitter, I guess, would be my right answer, because everyone was talking about Animal Crossing, then all of a sudden everybody wanted to know about Animal Crossing for me. I'm like, oh, okay, sure, I'll tell you about it. Let me tell you about the turtles. I went to go visit my friend Keaton's island, who
Yes.
was extremely organized, by the way. I missed that part of the pandemic. We
It
were
was a
just
good
all
times.
hanging out.
Remember the good part of the
Yeah,
pandemic?
yeah, I remember the good part. We were just all at home and not worried about too much and playing Animal Crossing. So yeah, that was, I guess, when people are talking about it on Twitter and the sports world is like, wait a minute, what what is this now? Can you tell me about it? Like when Fortnite had that huge tournament and this kid wins $3 million. Wait a minute. Should we talk about this? Yes, you should be talking about this. Let's talk about this. So they're money.
Right.
Always back to money. Money number one, and just community talking about it. If somebody popular like Drake were to jump into someone's stream like he did with Ninja, that's very important. We should talk about that. Whenever there has to be a bigger name or an athlete or somebody making something more mainstream, then we can talk about it. When an athlete hurts himself playing a video game, that we talk about it then.
Right. Right.
It has
So
to,
so
yeah, to have that component.
so it comes down to celebrity, money,
Hmm.
or controversy is what you
There you go. Isn't
It's
that the
easy.
recipe?
Right. Okay.
Isn't that,
Right.
isn't that
That
the recipe?
that's I mean, that's kind of a bummer, because those are the things that, like, as an indie, are like perpetually inaccessible. Right? You're
Oh, true. I'm sorry. You were trying to make it about you, and I made it about me.
Yeah, that happens.
I know it happens all the time. That's literally every one of our conversations.
No, I mean, like, let's, because I see a lot of, like, I've gone to PAX and I've seen developers bringing games that are like, it's a fighting game, or it's, I believe this is going to be a real esport, or
Hmm.
whatever, and unless they have one of those three elements, or better, all three, what you're saying is that the probability is insanely low, unless it's a moonshot like Among Us.
Yeah, it is for mainstream to get a hold of it and to get people involved, unfortunately. But
Hmm.
also there's also power in community. Like if we were there was a game called King of the Hat. a little while ago that I
Okay.
remember playing at. It was an indie game that I played at an EGLX, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this game is awesome. This is so much fun. We should play this game. We played it a little bit when I was with my other show on the Esports Network, and we played that a lot. And people were, it was a little bit of a buzz. People were talking about it, but then it kind of fell off. I feel like it would need to have. Um, it needs to have that everybody can play, even if you don't have a console kind of vibe. That's why Among Us did what it did. Anybody could download that on their phone and play it. Anybody can play. You can just, all you need is a code. You can jump. I had my cousin who had never played video games before in her life addicted to this game. She just could not put it down because it was just so easy to understand and access. There's, if you're going, that's the thing, is like you have to be able to involve a community and get a community addicted to it. So how does that work? It's a little bit of lightning in a bottle. It's also, what the popular streamers are kind of gravitating toward. That's why Fall Guys became so popular, because the popular streamers were jumping in and trying to get that number one spot. Um, but I don't know. I don't know how else to. It really is lightning in a bottle with that kind of stuff. It's not like, I feel like your game is very unique, but it's also a very solitary experience,
Oh
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
it has,
No, no.
right?
I'm not worried about that.
Oh, okay, okay. You're like, no, I'm
No,
fine.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm not looking for the mainstream, but I'm talking about, like, there's plenty of other indie devs who are
Yeah,
trying to make games that they believe are going to be competent esports, and
yeah.
I want to
But
hear the
remember that
probability.
Rocket League. Do you remember when Rocket League first
Right.
came out? How the reviews were actually really bad for Rocket League?
No, I don't. I don't remember this. I don't know this.
Yeah, the reviews were not good for Rocket League when they first came out, and I didn't review it. I was very surprised by the reviews, but then all of a sudden there was this little esports scene percolating and coming up
Interesting.
out of nowhere, and I feel like it was the esports scene that made Rocket League, in my opinion, made Rocket League what it is today, insanely popular, so much so that Epic Epic made big moves, and
Hmm.
now it's part of Epic's whole um, repertoire. But and now it has big Epic money behind it, and so there's so many places for Rocket League to go. Rocket League to the moon now because of just its trajectory within the esports scene, and how they made it free to play. Free to play is another huge grab.
Hmm.
It's another huge grab, unfortunately, because I don't, as someone who used to review mobile games for a living,
Right.
I became very annoyed, and just the whole free to play market for me was not it. I would rather just pay full price for a game and play it and not be, bugged incessantly to, you know, earn more gems or unlock this chest. But I understand the addiction part of it, because you still need to have a game that releases some kind of dopamine for somebody to come back for more. That's
Hmm.
why I was addicted to Clash Royale. I was full on addicted to Clash Royale for a while because of that dopamine hit that you get from every time you go back, you open those chests. And that scene itself is also huge, huge esports scene.
Hmm.
All of these mobile games that have a free to play component, big, big esports scene. I had a game that was called Heroes of Warland. And they tried to make it an esport. It was a mobile game. So much money, okay? They made a reality TV show in Sweden. I went to go host this reality TV show in Sweden. It paid for my honeymoon. They flew my husband out. Like, it was a whole, it was such a scene. Like, the mobile market for esports is also huge. We don't talk about it enough in the mainstream at
Hmm.
all, but there's lots of money there. And those games are all free to play. They're all free to play.
Right. I mean, the thing I keep coming down to in terms of, like, game design is that, like, whether it's esports, whether it's mobile games with free to play that rewards you with chests that give you high tier items or whatever,
Yeah.
it associates a monetary value with the incentive of play, right?
Hmm.
And there's actually been some interesting conversations in my chat this past couple days about blockchain games, and, like,
Oh,
as another form of incentivized game where it's
yeah.
now earning cryptocurrency in, like, all of these all three of these things have essentially quote unquote cash values floating around
Yes.
high tier play as incentives.
Yep.
um I mean, I
That's
think it comes
concerning. But yeah.
right, a little a little bit, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
it takes away from the purism of the game design, but I think we're already far beyond that in this conversation.
Yeah.
Is we're
Yeah.
um
But unfortunately, yeah, I know I'm seeing some of these NFT games as well pop up, just little mobile games. That you're supposed to get a collectible. They're like little baseball game that you can get little bobblehead collectibles that are actually NFTs that you
Mm.
unlock by coming back every day. Like just little nods to cryptocurrency and Bitcoin or Ethereum in these different games. So I don't know. I'm concerned about that market. I'm concerned about that market, but how do we pull back from it? We can't. I feel like it's kind of already on the tracks here and it's going, and we have to kind of try to keep up as best we can. I don't know how much the games aren't good. Like in my experience of playing those games, I don't like them. They're not fun.
Right. I mean, because at the root, I think it comes down to cash incentive at the end of the road for gameplay,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Yeah.
I wonder then, is this any of this gambling? Even just if we
Yeah.
have esports, the big prize pool for Dota, right? Part of the incentive to play Dota is to get good enough to, even if it's 0.001% of your incentive, part of the
Mm-hmm.
incentive is to get good enough to get that $50 million or whatever it's at the end of the road.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I'm like, well, it's a lot, yeah. Yeah, no, it's well, I mean, because for gamers, like, sure, they want to make it a job. They want to get paid to play video games, absolutely. For just casuals or not casuals, I'm sorry that was an insult to some people. For people who are just playing at home and they want to
Mm.
jump into a game and make money somehow and come back, like they're just gamifying. Yeah, you're gamifying gambling, and you're going to see more and more of that with the gambling laws now changing here in Canada, changing in the States. There are, even in the sports world, lots of talk of just gambling. It's going to start exploding here even more than it already has. I get a little bit concerned when it comes to kids playing these games and getting their hands on them. The CS:GO had a huge scandal
Hmm.
with CS:GO and betting skins, and that really introduced a lot of kids to gambling. Obviously, that market isn't what it was before, but there were a lot of people who made a lot of money just off skin gambling in CS:GO. So it's kind of already been prevalent in so many games for a long time. We just haven't been aware of it because we haven't been playing those skin betting
Right.
games, but or like the side deals. But people like listen. It's an actual industry. People are making huge money off of it. Not so much the people. There will always be winners and losers in gambling. Okay,
Mm.
so remember that, kids. Just be careful when you play these games.
Right.
They're
I'll
not
just be the
always
winner.
winners.
I'll just be the winner.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's not the way it works.
No.
Unfortunately, I would like to say that was the way it worked. I have the gambling bug though. I do have it. I tasted it when I went to play blackjack for the first time, and it was
Ah.
just like, oh yeah. I'm like, oh no, I really like this a lot. And the dealer was just like, you know what? This is when you take your money and you walk away. He saw the glimmer in my eye. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna be one of those elderly ladies who goes to the casino and just hangs out and pulls down the slot machine and then just goes to the little bar, gets my little drink, goes to the little buffet, loads up, then goes back to the slot machine. I'm just gonna sit there. I don't care. You don't bother anybody.
You mean the
You're just
good
there
life?
living your life.
The good life.
Exactly. Exactly. What's
Mhm.
what's wrong with that?
What's wrong with
Just
that?
yeah, just don't. I mean, kids, don't aspire to do what I do though.
Right.
Don't be like old lady Marissa in the
In the
casino.
casino. Um. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I worry as an independent game developer competing with incentivized gameplay.
Yeah.
Right. It's a tough. I mean, it's a very tough premise. Right. Like to be able to provide gameplay that's engaging enough to compete with less engaging gameplay that offers you the chance at cold hard cash, right? Those are very
Yeah.
primal, like lizard brain sort of attractors.
Yeah.
Um, do we just hope that forever? Like, I mean, because Fortnite is freaking huge, right? Like, there's
Fortnite.
so many kids. Every kid has played Fortnite, and they
Yeah,
are
and
all aware of
who are the
Ninja.
losers? Who are the losers in that? The kids' parents who didn't know their kid had their credit card and was buying V-Bucks. Okay, they're
Right,
always losers in that game. They're always losers in that game.
right.
Usually the parents who have a credit card attached to whatever console they're playing on. So, watch for that. Obviously, parents out there. Um, but yeah, there are huge incentives of that. Like that game made so much money because it was free to play with the incentives of buying skins.
Mm-hmm.
Let's buy this new skin. I don't know. It might look cool. Like it's a very popular thing. Like on the playground, it was a popular thing. If you didn't have this skin,
Mm-hmm.
you weren't cool enough to hang out with whoever it was. And like doing a certain dance. Did you buy this one? Did you unlock this one? No, it was my cousin is a teacher, and she just is so grateful that Fortnite is not as popular as it was because she couldn't deal with the Fortnite kids anymore. They were driving her insane. She would have me explain to her different things in games so she could like, you know,
Relate to
feel
the
it on it.
youths.
Yeah, you gotta relate to the youths in her class.
Mm.
So yeah, it was a cultural. It becomes a cultural thing. These games that just completely blow up out of a freemium drop from the sky, much like Apex. But that kind of went away a little bit. Although there was an update and people are playing it again.
Right. I want to. The only other topic I really want to focus on. I know you're very antsy to get to the Leafs game.
I know it's okay. I think that yeah, we're fine. We're okay. There's no score.
Uh, the games die, right? Over eventually. Doesn't matter. The Halo had a huge esports scene for a while. That's diminished. CS:GOs will diminish over time. Fortnite's will diminish over time.
CS:GO will not.
I mean, CS:GO's been around a long damn time, but
Yeah, CS:GO will not. It will thrive.
everything will fall in time. All empires crumble. This is the way. I have seen it from the barrel. It is how it happens.
Okay. I'm like, wait, we're gonna start talking about that Illuminati stuff now because I'm not ready.
all empires fall. All empires fall.
Okay.
I have seen some esports professionals transition very well out of esports into. I mean, like our homegrown hero XQC is now doing bigger and better than he ever did as part of the Overwatch League or the national teams, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm.
What is the rest?
He's not shackled anymore. He can just be him.
Right, but it comes back to. I mean, that was the when I got into Overwatch League was at the start when all his controversies, dramas were going on. What is the recipe for an esports professional having a successful exit from their game?
Shroud is a perfect example of
Okay.
someone who did that and did that successfully. He was playing with I believe they were the number one team at the time with Cloud9 and CS:GO. He is a Canadian. He's from right here. He's just insanely good at shooters. He's insanely good at video games. He's just very, very good at what he does. Does he have this huge, sparkling, out there personality? No, not really, but he doesn't have to have it because he's so skilled that people just want to watch him do his thing. And he was growing more and more in his streams, and he realized he was able to make more money streaming than he would if he would travel with his team and win these tournaments. So
Right.
it was just a wise move for him to stay home, stream, build his own community, get his own sponsorships, and he is making an insane amount of money just staying home and playing what he wants to play. Also playing whatever it is that a publisher gives him money to play as well.
Right.
He discloses that too when he's playing. But he has a huge community and he was able to do that on his own. So the successful exit is when you're still, I feel like when you're still on top of your game, when people still, recognize you as that person from that team, then you can kind of branch off and make your own name for yourself. Shroud is the actual perfect example of that. He was with Cloud9. Cloud9 and CS:GO, they were big for a long time. That team was amazing. It had great personalities. Nothing was on that team too. You got to go out. I feel like you got to go out and do your own thing and stream and do your own thing when you're on top. A caster did the same thing. A caster in the Call of Duty League, or CWL at the time, Courage. He was a caster with them, very popular. He could have kept doing that because it was an awesome, really rewarding job for him. But he knew that he would make more money just staying at home and streaming, and he did. He got a huge community. He's now partnered with 100 Thieves. He's bought into that company. He does huge numbers on YouTube. He's a YouTube partner now. They're just, you just have to have the skill to pull it off.
Right.
That's all.
Right. I mean, so if you are top tier talent, you do have the numbers already to make that exit. I mean, it feels like the decision's already kind of made for you. How does an esports professional assure that, even if they've got the numbers, you can walk out and not necessarily be able to transition your audience over? Is there a secret? I mean, you can kind of relate this because you have also had to transition audiences over the course of your career, right? What is the secret to keeping an audience from platform to platform?
Uh, you. It's you. It's your brand. It is you that people are wanting to follow and keep in touch with and know what they're up to from, one day to the next. It's not a game. Although a lot of these streamers are now pigeonholed with a certain game. If they jump out of that game, they'll lose an audience. Um, but if you have enough of a personality that you've built some kind of brand outside of the game, outside of the genre, outside of the entity that you kind of attached yourself to, then you'll be okay. You'll be okay as long as you've created enough of a brand for yourself. It's just when you become a leech on a brand is when the actual issue comes for you. That's why I always tell people when they're leaving a space, or if they're leaving, school for the first time, and what kind of advice I have, it's always, what do you have? What makes you unique? I know it's super cliche, but you have to make sure that you've built your own brand on whatever social platform it is. You can focus on one social platform if you want. If you want it to be TikTok, if you want it to be YouTube, whatever it is, but make sure you have and you've cultivated some kind of audience there who understands, who picks up what you're putting down, because you'll always have that. You'll always have your community that will be there for you because they want to see you succeed.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right on.
Like you, Keaton, okay? Like you want to see me succeed, okay?
Of course. Of course.
You're always a fan.
Yeah, huge. I appreciate this very in-depth, interesting look into a world that I am very unfamiliar with and might consider hell.
Oh God, what the Keaton? Honestly,
if it all comes down to money, celebrity, and controversy, man, I don't know.
that's you. That's you. That's literally you in a nutshell.
I see. Okay.
Money, celebrity, controversy.
It's the trifecta. It's the trifecta.
Yeah, the trifecta of Keaton. Listen, what do you ever do like podcasts where you just talk about, I don't know, the ether?
The ether.
Yeah.
Most of these shows we're talking about like colliders and shaders and level design and these kinds of things. We're very, very seldom do we talk about the real.
Okay.
The real.
I thought you were okay. So you don't talk about the Illuminati.
No. Not yet.
Okay.
We got to ease the audience into that one first. They're not ready for that.
One toe at a time. Okay.
One toe at a time, right? Like the mainstream media on the hot tub.
There we go. Full circle.
We gotta go one leg at a time.
Oh man, sorry. I haven't been looking in chat at all. I don't know if there are any questions. But I'm sorry, I wasn't looking.
There were some, and I think we kind of sort of covered them. Not really, a little bit.
Okay.
Jane says hi.
I haven't been. Hello, hi Jane. Are you playing Overwatch right now?
She is.
How's it going? I wish you guys would watch hockey.
Yeah, we could. I mean, we could watch it. I wouldn't understand.
And yes, you don't.
No. Right on. Yes, hockey. You're gonna go watch the game now. Is there anything you want to leave the audience with? Where should they look? Where should they direct their eyeballs?
Well, first look within your own heart and discover what.
This shit again.
No, seriously. Like, what? Life is short, okay? So, reach out to the ones you love. I know I don't do that enough for you, Keaton. I'm sorry. I will text back more frequently. I'm just bad at communicating, as you know, even though that's my profession.
Yeah.
I.
It's like how chefs still eat McDonald's.
I mean, one day when we're all vaccinated, we can see each other again and be in each other's company. I am Marissa. I'm Marissa Roberto on Twitter. It's just at Marissa Roberto on Twitter. On Instagram and TikTok, I'm MROB29, MRob29. And I'm just kind of there often. I'm on Instagram literally all the time. It's annoying. Always in my stories. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I work for TSN. You can watch TSN's Instagram stories. I'm there right now talking about the day's news and sports. We try to make it digestible. Even if you don't like sports or watch sports, maybe I can convince you to enjoy. And TSN stories there you can see my daily show if you want to hang out.
And if I want a good esports story, where do I look? What's the exciting right now?
We do. Well, we do talk about the most exciting esports stories that usually happen in bar downloadable on TSN's YouTube as well.
Hmm.
But did you follow Ludwig's streamathon? Did
Who?
you see any of that? Okay, so Ludwig is okay. Ludwig is well, he now streams almost, well, not everything, but a lot of different things. But he became popular in the Smash Bros scene. And he had the streamathon where every time somebody, or subathon, so every time somebody subbed, he'd have to stream
Oh,
longer.
right. And he did the
So
longest. Yeah,
he did the longest stream ever. He also beat Ninja with most concurrent subs.
good.
So he broke Ninja's record as well, which is huge. So that was a feel good story. Also, really love. He has a great personality for streaming as well. So yeah, that was a fun story to watch. And then hey, if you want to get into Toronto esports, the Toronto Defiant and Toronto Ultra are actually doing pretty decent. Both of them are doing pretty decent this season. So yeah, those tournaments usually happen on the weekend or over the weekend. Yeah, that's esports.
That's esports. All right. Well, I'll let you go to the hockey game.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, thank you very much for coming on
Thanks for having me.
and chatting, and it was fun. And gang, I'll see you tomorrow. We're gonna finish up the Riggy 2K3 jam, and I'm gonna send you somewhere. I don't know where I'm gonna send you, but
Aren't you gonna thank the Illuminati? Okay. He got up on stage and he thanked the Illuminati when he won first game. The Canadian.
Okay, goodbye. Okay, goodbye. It's so long.